Hi, this is Christopher Lang, and you're listening to Gaming and BS, episode 272, Time Travel.
Alrighty then. It is not episode 272, as Mr. Christopher Lang put it. It is episode 201, coming to you Wednesday, July 25th, 2018. Brett, how are you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. It was a long weekend of gaming and fishing. I went fishing, Sean. I haven't gone fishing in forever. Didn't catch anything. Drowned some minnows. That was okay. But it was fun. Went fishing and played D&D 5e, Temple of Elemental Evil, and then Star Wars. And as I was saying off the mics, my new Star Wars GM, yeah, he lets my pilot stay on the ship, and it's still fun. No, he's just a lot more tolerant. I'm going to say that.
Yeah, that game master hasn't learned yet. It's early yet.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Like when we talked, it was like, yeah, okay, I'm good, and then you showed up, and everything was fine, and then I went, all hell broke loose.
I did use the ship's guns to shoot people on the ground. That made me happy too.
You did.
Oh, of course I did.
When the ship was landed.
No, I was.
That was the beef I had. Let's get this straight now, Brett. When I had a beef with Brett, it was when the ship was landed, and I don't even know if it was powered up, but Brett wanted to shoot people on the ground from the ship as it was stationary on the ground, not flying around, wanting to blast people off the ground as it flew around.
It's like a tank. A tank loses its tread as a pillbox, right?
Hey, game masters out there, Brett is available for your Star Wars play whenever you want.
If you like a headache, come on over.
He's great.
All right, let's get into announcements. Let's see. Gamehole Con submissions open. Sean, I heard a rumor via Twitter that you actually put in your Forget About It game.
I will confirm that rumor. So awesome. Maybe it was a tactical.
There you go. Army boy. It's called tactical.
I'm a very tactful army guy.
Apparently. Or tactile. One of the two. You like touching things. I don't know.
I do, yes. I did submit my Forget About It game. It hasn't been approved yet, ladies and gentlemen, so hey, it's still out there. But if you're a VIG person, you probably already registered for your games, and I don't know if you can get in on that now.
Well, I think you're putting that game in so the VIGs can't get in it because you're about the common man, the common gamer.
I didn't want to say that.
You didn't want to say that.
But I'm going to register. I might put in one more game. I'm thinking about Star Wars D6.
That's what I'm playing.
But Brett, you're going to be busy, right? You're going to be busy.
I don't know what time slot is it, Sean.
Off the grid, ladies and gentlemen. Star Wars D6. I'll let you know in private messages.
Oh, I got a pilot I want to bring to your game. All right, so another convention news. Evercon, game submissions are open, evercon.org, as I said before. I'm still going to QCC, so that's coming.
What?
Yeah.
When is the QCC?
Oh, good Lord. You know what?
September 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Boom, a voice from I was just going to say, if only I had one of the QCC directors on the phone with us right now at this very moment, we'd find that out.
We had that recorded as an MP3. Just pushed a button.
Nice.
September 7th, 8th, and 9th.
See?
Where is that at? That's in somewhere, Buffalo, New York.
I'll push the other button.
Will you?
Yeah.
Buffalo, New York.
It's like clear as hell, too.
I love it. Very.
We should have that guy on the show.
We should.
Oh, wait a minute. I am on the show. Holy shit. Oh, wait a minute. Are we explicit? Can I actually say that?
Oh, fuck yeah, you can.
Oh, okay, good. I couldn't remember. I mean,
we're trying to get into game stores after episode 200. Well, so much for that. Thanks, guys.
We brought Chris Sniezak from Misdirected Mark on the show, and everything went to hell.
Oh, that's about right. You know how hard it is to sit here and not say anything on a podcast for 4.5 minutes? 4.5 minutes I've been waiting to say something. Oh, my God.
Just building anticipation.
Now you know what Brett feels like when the intro plays for 15 seconds.
I know. It hurts right in my soul. If I had one, it would hurt my soul.
You should see video of Brett when we're doing this. It's like his face is getting red.
A vein that stands right above my left eye.
Sweat
It's pretty bad.
starts trickling down his face. He's starting to grab the table and shake it.
It's true.
And then I go, and welcome to the show. And how about you, Brett? And then he's like, oh, my God. He survives.
Oh, man.
So, Chris, you guys... All right, so we just had our 200th episode. This is 201. It's awesome to have you here. How many episodes have you done on Misdirected Mark so far?
What is it, 318?
Holy shit. So we need you to stop for about a year so we can catch up to you.
That would be 2 years.
2 years.
We'd have to stop for 2 years.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, if you really want to get into it, Misdirected Mark Productions as a network has released well over 1,000 podcasts. So, I mean,
Damn.
That's crazy.
It's a thing. We do stuff.
And Chris has edited each one of those shows.
No, I haven't. That's actually inaccurate. But I have edited probably well over 500 of them.
Good Lord.
Ugh.
So, it's not a big deal. By the way, I am for hire for editing purposes if you want to hire me for podcasting. Anyways, thank you guys so much for having me on Gaming MBS, one of what I like to call the brother podcasts of Misdirected Mark Productions.
Well, no problem, man. Thank you. And Sean, I said this on episode 200, and I'll say it to your virtual face right now.
Yeah, we'll tell it to your face.
Boom. If you and Phil were super kind, and when you heard about us, you started listening, and then you said some very nice things, and that really helped to boost the listenership, and more people listen to us because of what you and Phil said. So thank you very much.
Well, it's funny when you listen to the patron list from Gaming MBS and the patron list from Misdirected Mark Productions. There's a lot of the same people on them both. It's pretty great, actually.
Yeah, the Venn diagram is kind of like a ball with some knobbies on the side. That's about it, because it's pretty much the same group of dudes and ladies, men and women, good groups.
Yeah, and then you extend that to Hobbs and Friends of the OSR,
Yep.
and yeah, it's just all of those podcasts that everybody's just kind of the same listeners. Oh, Sean, man, how you been? I haven't talked to you or seen you in forever. I mean, I talk to Brett all the time, so
Oh, that's right. Brett's in online game with you guys.
He is, in fact. We have a really good time. We've been playing that game we've been playing campaigns with that group, the Wednesday Evening Podcast All Stars, for 3 years now, I think.
Yeah, about that.
Wow, has it been that long?
Yeah, they don't make me play Star Wars, so I like them better than you.
Well, he left me. He left my Star Wars game for that game.
Well, I'm sorry that we're better than you.
Wow. 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 I guess I will have to mute Mr. Sniezak on occasion.
Beep, beep, beep.
Well, thank God there's post-production. That's all I
there
say.
we go. Thank God where Sean is better than me, Chris Sniezak. Well, that sounds really cobbled. What's that about?
Here, Sean, I'll give you the soundbite that you can put in. Sean. I'm sorry that you're better than me, Sean, but we can still have a good time.
Look at that.
There.
Makes it so much easier.
See, there you go.
Working with professionals, man.
I mean, I just got to give you the sound bites, right?
That's right.
What are we talking about today?
I know. Where did this go?
I have no idea, but for the main topic today, something that's been I've been thinking about it for a while. Sean and I have talked about low-level play in the past, and I know it gets a fair amount of talk in other podcasts periodically, especially in the OSR space, at least from what I can see, where people will often bemoan, from what I hear, oh, I hate being the first level, whatever. And I think it's more than just a D&D thing. I think it's in a lot of other spaces. I was talking to these two guys off the mics beforehand. One of my gamers has a tendency to, he doesn't hate low-level play. He just wants to be the most powerful thing at the table, regardless of the level. It's just kind of how some people are. And I think there's some. I want to basically try to better define low-level play and kind of bounce it back and forth and see what the pluses, minuses are, and if one of the three of us has a bias one way or the other, if we hate it, like it, or if we only like it for certain things, and blah, blah, blah. So I think Chris will bring a level of panache, organization, and clarity to this conversation, where Sean and I would normally just circle the drain until somebody finally pulled the lever on us. So,
a very hairy, sticky drain.
Yeah.
This is a very, very confusing episode of Gaming and BS for me. I just want to say, because I'm a listener, there was no random encounter. There wasn't the intro music to the main topic.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, after 200, we're going off the deep end.
We don't know what's going on.
It's very strange. I'm okay though. I'm calm. Things are not freaking me out too badly. Are you two pod people? I'm just checking. Oh.
All right, Chris. So when I say low level play to you, does that immediately conjure up D&D type stuff to your brain, or what do you think about when somebody says I don't like low level play? Does that, or I like it? What does that do to your brain? What do you think about?
So low level play to me is a lot of I think for me it conjures up what a lot of people think of, which is like if you're playing like low level BX or even like first or second level D&D or Dungeon Crawl Classics where you're doing a funnel. These are characters that are fairly incompetent, very fragile, don't have a lot of ability or skill to their character. So you don't feel like you have as many options, but in order to do anything you have to be a little bit more bring some more player creativity to the situation. I think that's kind of where I would go with low level play as a definition.
Oh, so if I say, hey, we're going to do low-level play, you're like, all right, I better bring my creative juices and really get them rolling here because I'm not going to have all the bonuses, all the extra points or build points or whatever to have this more powerful person that I'm running. I've got to bring my creative A game is kind of what you're thinking.
That is one of the things. I will do the Sean P. Kelly and say it kind of depends on the kind of game that you're playing, because if you're playing Pathfinder, the rules are much more comprehensive for what you can and can't do a lot of times on your turn and how the sort of physics of that game work. So in a Pathfinder styled game, like you just have to really understand your limits, what you're dealing with, try to gather information and not put yourself in bad situations.
Yeah, if you've got a game with a really strict action economy, combat sequences, more very tactical and tactile if you're using minis and so on, understanding. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I dig that. So
I guess, to me, like the definition of low-level play, the definition I gave at first, in a lot of ways, was the one that I think that the majority of people throw out there. I think low-level play isn't really a good term for defining a kind of play, because there is low-level play that is broad. Like you're pretty competent to begin with, but you'll broaden your skill set out as you play and level up. And then there's low-level play where you're a scrub and you're not very good at things until you level up.
That makes sense. Sean, what do you think when I say low level play? What does that conjure up in your mind?
I think that it has to. I think we share some similar views on what low level play is. It's limited powers, limited strength at early on.
Okay.
Because I think strength and the powers grow as you go on. Now that is specific to level based systems, right? Not, we may be talking about something else that doesn't. Well, even if
you take like Savage Worlds or GURPS, they're point based systems, and if you start off with a 75 or 110 point character or something in GURPS, you gain character points and improve. I know Savage Worlds has you start small and move your way up there too.
Well, I think a majority of RPGs do have an incentive where there is some type of boon as you play. Not all, but I would say a majority.
I would agree with that. It's just about, in my opinion, from a design point of view, are you broadening your skill set? So, like, are you already competent in certain things and then just getting better slowly over the course of time, or broadening the things that you're good at? Or are you really not very good? Like, I'm a wizard and I only got one or two spells at first level, but by the time I'm 7th level, I can throw a whole bunch of stuff around.
Yeah, as opposed to like a Knights Black Agents character with a gumshoe system where you're badass right out of the gate.
Yeah, that's a game where I feel like you don't really, you're not ever playing at a low level. Like that leveling system in that game isn't really a leveling system in that game.
It's much like Call of Cthulhu. At least I've not read the newer edition, but the original BRP stuff, you could start off with in the percentile system, fairly decent percentile stats. It's not always that easy to increase them. You start out pretty goddamn good.
Yeah, like Dungeon World. I like PBTA games. I like Dungeon World a lot. At level 1, you're very competent. Like you can do a lot of stuff. there's a shift in that game to where when you have one of your stats hits to the point where you have a +3 in it, that you are exceptionally competent at using that ability score. So whenever you trigger a move that uses that ability score, you hardly ever fail. But before that, you're still pretty competent. And as you level up in that game, you get more abilities, but they are broadening your skill set. But you're already pretty competent to begin with. So that's a level-based game that you have a low-level area, but you are not a scrub.
Yeah, fair. And I think the other piece that kind of goes without saying, but if you're when we talk about this type of play style, whether you're a scrub or whatever we want to call it, there is a way out. There's a way up. I don't know of a game off the top of my head. I'm positive there's one out there where you basically play a scrub and it never goes away. Like you're just always scrapping. You're a henchman and you'll always be a henchman type of thing. I can't think of a game that's like that. I'm positive somebody's made one.
They're not. I can't think of one for campaign play. Maybe. Well, if you play Paranoia for a period of time, you only got 6 clones before you're dead, and you can play that game over the course of levels and get more clearance, but that doesn't usually happen. That game's not designed really to do that.
Yeah, you pretty much die, get blown up, and betrayed.
Yeah, right? Like, I can't think of a game where you're just kind of, like, terrible to begin with and you stay terrible and never get better.
Maybe, and God, it's been forever since I've read Toon or something like that, but I think it would take a very specific type of emulation, a type of genre, a very specific type of mechanics to make that type of play fun. Because low-level play usually indicates, like, look, I'm starting out at level 1, if we're going to use D&D terms, and I'm going to get better as long as I continue to survive and gain experience points. Excuse me. So I'm going to get better as I go along. And I think that what bothers some people is they're like, look, I would rather just kind of skip past can I just get to hazard class? Could I just get to 5th level so I cast a fucking fireball? Can I just get to that point? I don't want to fight giant rats. I don't want to have to worry about kobolds and giant centipedes biting my leg. Can we just move it along?
So can I ask you guys a question?
Go for it, man.
When we're talking about low-level play, there's like a wide variety of kinds of low-level play, and part of the conversation is trying to define it. Now, are you looking for the actual low-level play and trying to look at the low-level play where it is you are just not very good at what you do and you have to struggle and survive to get to the point where you are very good at what you do, or are we looking at the whole range?
I'm kind of thinking, honestly, when I thought about this, I was thinking about the whole range insofar as without a real good definition, throwing out just ideas of what we think it might be and so on, and if there are multiple ways to look at it, that's awesome to think about. Because when I hear somebody say something like, I don't like soda. Any soda? No, none. Oh, you don't like cola? Or you don't like Pepsi? Or what? You will hear a thing. People have a broad sweeping hyperbole type statement like, I don't like any of X. When in fact it's an aspect of it. And they may not realize that, hey, this other game system has a style of low-level play that is actually quite fun and would hit all the cool little bells and whistles that you actually do like, sir. And why don't you try this one instead? So I think there's more to that statement than what I believe usually is conjured up, at least in my head, is, first level D&D. First level, single die hit points, one spell, or whatever. I think there's more meat around it than just the limitations, perhaps. Well, totally rambling, but I'm trying.
Well, I have a theory then. I can posit a theory about how this all works if you'd like.
Go for it, man.
All right. So the first part of figuring out low-level play is, where is your low-level set as far as power curve goes? Because there is the lowest level of power curve where you are 0-level characters like in DCC, right? And they give you 4 of them so you can go get funneled out.
Yeah, exactly.
Then there is the low level of power curve for Fate, because Fate has a leveling system. You get more refresh, and you can add more abilities and stunts and have more fate points at your disposal, and you get more pluses to your stats as you move your stat abilities around, your skills around. But you start off very competent, so you are actually a much more pulpy. That's the thing about pulp, right? The pulp genre, you have competent characters to begin with. Like Indiana Jones is competent even right when he starts out. Even young Indiana Jones is competent when he starts right out, strangely enough. So that is the low level though, for that game, and it is very competent. So you have to decide what is the competency level of your lowest level character, like, and then you can sort of extrapolate from there, like how you want your game to proceed from a design point of view. The other thing is like when you level up, what is actually happening to your character? Is it gaining more power, or is it gaining broader power? Are they becoming stronger overall, or are they gaining more options? And that will really tell you kind of how the low-level play in your game works.
It's a good idea. I like that approach. Sean, what are you thinking, man?
All right, so that wraps it up for another episode of Gaming NBS.
I'm sorry. This is the kind of stuff that we do. I mean,
that's fine, man. No, this is one of the reasons to talk about something that has multiple answers and options is get another opinion. Sean, I'm sorry I stepped on you.
No, I was going to say that I agree with Chris and how he's looking at it, and you're right. There's two ways to look at it. I'm thinking, somebody sent this in, right? Who sent this in?
I can't recall who
Somebody brought
it
it
is.
up.
One of our listeners. One of our listeners brought it up, and I have a note that said listener, and I'm like, "Fuck, who said this?"
Was it DM Cojo? I think might have been.
I can't remember.
I think it was Cojo.
I'm an idiot. It could have been Cojo.
I think it was Cojo.
Punch me next time he sees me.
It was Cojo. Cojo, we love you. And I think, now, of course, he didn't define what low level was to him, but I have to think, because he plays a lot of DCC, I think it has to do with and it's not, Chris is going into the leveling piece, like how do you gain power as you progress, breadth versus depth, or whatever I'm not going to reframe what Chris just mentioned, but low level play, I think, what maybe Kojo or anybody else may be wanting to know more about is there a different method of play? And then going back to defining it is, I guess when I think of low level play, it's I suck, I can't do shit, and I have to be careful because anything I do could kill me. So if I step on a caltrop, I roll damage, I've got 2 hit points, you take 4. Shit, I'm down. My character's down. You took 4 hit points. Yep, I'm down.
Yeah, so I think that's part of it too. What Chris's definition, and when we look at it from a design perspective, saying, hey, the game is built to, when you go from 0 to hero or however you expand yourself, you're gaining more power in like a direct curve, a very linear fashion, or it's the opportunity to say, hey, look, here's a plethora of different things you can grab onto. You could become part wizard, part ranger. You could learn how to use, high-powered space armor, whatever it is you want. That's cool. That's all baked in, and then that's baked into the mechanics and the way the game functions. But I think what you're keying in on, Sean, then is okay. So we're going to do this. I get it. I know that when I go up a level, I can broaden my skill set, or I could make it go really deep. I could be like the world's greatest blaster man. But how does that impact how you physically play the game? Because, if you play DCC and you get into the spirit of a 4-person funnel, the judge looks at you and goes, look, they're going to die. And it's pretty much, it's set at the table. Everybody, if you're playing that game and you get into it, you're just going to lose some dudes. Motherfuckers are going to die left, right, and center. It's just how it is. But I think if you're playing BX or some of the other game systems, or even Fate, when you're fairly competent, even in pulpy games, sometimes when some people think of starting low level, they think protect. I think that's where you're going, Sean. Like, I'm terrified, and every 10-foot section of the dungeon, to use that analogy, is painstakingly searched because one stray shoestring and I slip and fall and my 1 hit point mage is dead, type of thing.
Well, I think we should take a look at what Sean said and really focus down on that kind of play. Let's talk about low-level play where you are really incompetent and you could die at any moment and you don't have a lot of stuff going on with your character. So I think
an interesting phrase you've used a couple of times is incompetent, and I think that's when you think 0-level DCC, yeah, you're basically a farmer in a dungeon with a pitchfork trying to fight chaos beasts. You're fucking incompetent.
Yeah.
And then if you go to like early D&D or a 5th edition D&D first level characters are tougher than old school, different variations on that theme. But I wouldn't. It's like they're not incompetent because the game perhaps assumes a certain level of, look, you can always run away, or if it has a balancing mechanic for encounters, the encounters are balanced appropriately. So it's goofy because I think people feel like they're incompetent when in fact they may not be nearly as incompetent as they think they are.
They're definitely fragile.
Fragile. Maybe that's a better word for it.
Well, so I think the player character may be, or is it the player may be incompetent, but the player character may not be?
Well, egos are fragile. We have.
So here's the thing: if a die roll can make or break your life, then the character is fragile. And
absolutely. There's
a spot in a lot of games where that becomes not a thing, right? Like you can actually mess up a die roll 2 or 3 times before you actually die. I mean, even later in life, in certain games like D&D, especially, like in the higher levels, there is save or die, right? Like that happens now and again. So like eventually you become fragile again, but you have a bunch of different like options at your disposal to get out of that. At low level play in games like DCC and D&D and BX and Stars Without Number, because I'm playing that right now too. Like a die roll can kill you. I think that is one of the defining features of the kind of low-level play that Sean is talking about.
And then that drives certain players to really husband their character points. Like, look, this isn't going anywhere. They're looking at that hit point level and saying, I don't want to get into a die roll scenario because if the dice do go sideways, I'm dead. So I think
vulnerability is definitely key.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I agree.
To go with...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, man.
No, I was going to say, I don't mind that. When I'm playing, I actually like starting at the lowest level and working my way up. As a player, to me, it's more interesting to follow even if the character dies, I make a new one or whatever. It's more interesting to me as I develop the character to build the band of brothers and sisters that have gone through whatever it is we've gone through together, because we started out doing this, as buck privates, and we work our way forward. As opposed to saying everybody make 5th level characters and start from there. I like having that in-game background stuff that we built together. So I look at it as an opportunity to grab onto those things. But I know some people don't like that, and they've got other mechanisms or tools that they like to use to fast-track that stuff.
I like low-level play because of what you just said, right? It gives you a chance to not necessarily worry about like backstories and things like that, and build your character out and build the things that matter to your character through play, the stories that they have eventually, and that's what ends up mattering a lot more than anything else. It's one of the things I love about certain kinds of OSR style play games, because of that right there, right? Like the other thing that I really like about low level play, especially in OSR styled games, is that my player creativity and the ideas that I bring to the table, because there's a lot more about rulings than rules, can allow me to do neat things that let the game master give me bonuses to my dice rolls before I roll the dice, which lets me, like, my creativity will give me a better chance of surviving. So then I feel like at least I'm doing something to give myself a chance to survive, and it's not just necessarily completely up to the dice.
Sean, what are you thinking?
No, I agree with Chris, man. That's a huge deal with some of the OSR stuff, and the type of play that it facilitates, I think, is a big one that you touched on, is the creativity piece. And before Pathfinder people go nuts on me and tell me that I'm completely wrong, and I may be wrong, and I'm just stretching this, but I think over time as games have progressed, not all... disclaimer, not all games, but because there is a list of skills, there is some players that will determine whether they can do something by the list that's in front of them. And if it's not a box that's checked, they don't feel compelled that they can do that. They don't feel compelled. They don't feel as though they're competent in doing that. Where
if I have a skill it doesn't have a plus by it, I'm like, oh, it has a +0. I guess I can't do that.
Well, or I'm terrible at it, and why should I try to accomplish that when the roguey rogue over there is probably better at it? So if they can't do it, well, surely I can't. But going back to Chris and the creativity piece and having the rulings over rules, I mean, it goes back to searching a room. We've brought this up on plenty of occasions, Brett. You search a room, great. What are you doing? Describe me where you're looking, how you're looking, what are you looking for, how long are you going to take? And then based on all that information from the player, the GM can make can provide whatever it is, and it may not even involve a die roll, or as Chris alluded to, they get a bonus on it. Great, awesome. A little bit different than I scored an 18 on my search. What do I find? I hate that.
One's a little more evocative than the other.
I don't like games I don't like when people play games that way. That's just a me thing, right? Like, I don't want to just have the die roll be the die roll and then tell me stuff. Like, I want the narrative, because even if I'm playing whatever, it doesn't matter what I'm playing, I still want the narrative piece to it to go along with the mechanics. You don't need it as much in certain games, but it's cool to have it for me because I like story, and I like role-playing games as frameworks for telling stories, but I really like the story parts surrounding the narrative or surrounding the mechanics. It's important to me.
Yeah, I'm all with you, man. I was running Tomb of Annihilation this past weekend, or a couple weeks ago, and I'm running with, guys I've known for 30-plus years, and they haven't played a bunch of 5e, and we're doing 5e, and sure enough, a buddy of mine looks at me and says, okay, well, I search, or I, do something, and I said, okay, that's great, kind of. What do you do? What are you doing to achieve that, what you want to accomplish? It was like derp.
Yeah, like, are you just looking around the room? Are you like actually like feeling along the walls? Right. Are you like feeling for the wind blowing around to see if there's any secret passages? Like, what exactly are you looking for? Like, are you looking for something glittery and shiny? Like, tell me something. Just give me a little bit of something.
Well, not only that, but I think with him was, and I even said this, I'm like, what is your end goal? What are you trying, like, by you telling me this, what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to actually find something? Are you trying to notice something? What is it that you're hoping to do? And I will help you. I'll help you frame it up, so we can kind of work on this collaboratively and then come to a conclusion, which I think happens a lot with OSR games. Like, okay, so now we talked it out meta. Now let's frame up the narrative, right? Okay, you're over there, and Brett's character's looking, and this is what you see, and da-da-da-da-da, whatever. Carry on. Right?
Yeah, so I think that's part of what we're saying about, like, to go back to low-level play, is that regardless of the game, if you have a game system that your group is playing that you really enjoy, and it happens that it has mechanics that enforce that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yes.
Now, if you're playing a game that doesn't have mechanics that enforce it, but it's within the spirit of it, which is in the spirit of most OSR games, it's like, look, this is how you play these games, right? At least all the ones I've ever played. If you're going to play BX, you're going to play even Ozric or AD&D or whatever. It's in the spirit of the game. You're supposed to do this stuff. And coming back to it, it's imperative that you do that at low level, because you don't have the breadth and depth of skill, and you're a little more fragile and all that stuff. So having that thing pulled out, whether it has the mechanics that really help you do it, or if you're tacking it in because it's just how the spirit of the game is, it makes low-level play, in our opinion, it sounds like, much more enjoyable and exciting, because I, as the player, am still super engaged. I'm not whacking the shit out of 15 ogres right now. I'm just searching a room with my feeble skill set. But I'm doing it through this narrative piece, and then I think that when you do that, it sets a tone for the entire campaign. Because if that worked there, it continues to be a thing that was fun, and then when you're 5th level, 6th level, 10th level, whatever, in my experience, that continues to flow on. Even if you don't have mechanics that are used for it, just as the power curve goes up, the players still enjoy the narrative component, because that's just how you play.
Oh, I don't know about that, Brett.
You don't?
I don't know. I as a player, have poop. I would poo-poo all over that, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm playing Fightor.
Because you're a bad
first
player,
level
dude.
Fightor.
That's your problem. We should talk about this.
I'm playing Fightor, first level AD&D, or whatever game, Ozric, and yeah, I start kind of being a little bit more trepidatious in the beginning. But 5th, 6th, 7th level, when people are futzing around with doors, I'm bashing them in. I'm kicking them in. I got 100 hit points. I'm good.
Yeah, that's because you're not scared anymore, because you don't have to worry about dying from one die roll.
That's right.
But what I'm saying is your descriptive power is still carried over. You're not like just sitting there waiting or just trying to figure out a way to roll. You're like, look, I can lean into this because I have an 1800 strength now thanks to these gauntlets of ogre power. I'm just going to knock the fucking door in.
Yeah, that's
enough. It's still descriptive,
Yep.
and you're still using what you have, even though you may not have a skill thing on your chart that says knock the fucking door in. That's what I'm saying.
I would agree with that. Like, I'm not trying to tell you you're wrong, Sean, because I would never do that on your show. But what Brett said is pretty much correct.
Well, all right, Brett can be correct, I guess.
Every once in a while I can do that. But I get what you're saying, Sean, is that there is so that's the interesting piece is that the style of play can change from trepidatious and a little nervous, really caring for all these precious little few hit points or skill points or whatever points I may have, and then as you increase, you've got buckets of those things. Your armor class has improved a great deal. You're like, fuck it, whatever, knock it down. Now, if we take, so that's like a D&D type of example. So Chris, do you see in a game like Fate, I've only played Fate Accelerated with you and with Tom Flanagan running Dresden Files. Do you see a similar type of curve and change in play with Fate? I mean, Fate has different mechanics, right?
Yeah.
So when you're low level pulpy, you're still. I mean, how's that low level play different than like an OSR level play?
All right, so this is about designing for genre, right? We played Dresden Files. The game was built for Spirit of the Century. The game was actually built for Dresden Files, so it is modern fantasy, but it's very pulp action. Mm-hmm. That means your low-level characters need to be hyper competent because that's what those kinds of characters are. Like, and it's not really that they're gonna. I mean, even when they fail, they're probably not going to die because that's not what that genre does. But for dungeon crawling fantasy games, that was an expected thing, right? Like dying early. So that's why you design those games differently. So it's all about mechanical sets for how to get the feel that you want out of the play that you got there.
What's kind of interesting with that is that I have found when you're playing a game that's more, what do I say, investigation driven, or it's not about crawling through dungeons and fighting giant rats or whatever, there's still a level of I want to get better at this because I'm sick of not being able to find the information I'm looking for, right? So if you're playing a game, you're like, look, I'm trying to smooth talk my way past this. My smooth talk roll blows. I'm really sick of failing at this. I can't wait till I get some more character points, which is like a GURPS thing, right? Yeah. I'm waiting to get more points so I can improve this fucking thing because I'm sick of not being able to drive the damn car. And it may have nothing to do with combat. You're simply wanting to get better at it. You're probably may well be hyper competent in certain things, but because of the genre you're in, you still want to get better at it.
Yep. Although a lot of games, especially games that are older in nature, that were trying to emulate genres that didn't do it very well, didn't understand how to design for that stuff because they didn't have the tool set yet because it was a new genre of game, which is, I mean, you mentioned investigation. We are bringing up all sorts of side tangent problems. Holy Lord, Jesus, come on, man.
Well, it's interesting though because when you think about low level play, all those pieces of it, you hear like, well, low level play is just I just don't like having to fight kobolds. So you don't mind low level play in a Fate game? No, because you're what? You're more competent. You're more powerful. You can beat people up. No, it's not about beating people up. There you go. So it may not even be that you don't like low-level play. It may be that you don't like low-level play in a certain genre or in a certain rule set.
Correct.
Right?
Like, I mean, a lot of like... So what do people not like about low-level play? Should we just talk about that now? Like,
yeah.
that actual topic? Sean, what don't you like about low-level play?
Because anything I do may hurt me. Really, really bad. Like, kill me dead bad.
Is that really a problem, though, if you're playing a game that is kind of about that?
You know, it's not a problem because me, I'm okay with a character dying, but I'm not okay with a character dying every couple hours.
So, like, then why do people like playing DCC funnels so much?
Because they're weird. No, I'm kidding.
Those DCC people. I think because there's a novelty behind it.
There's what? Novelty?
A novelty behind it. I think it's something that takes them back. I think it's something that they embrace because it's part of that game. And then coming out of that, you have, a character that survived like 1 out of the 4 or 2 out of the 4. And it's almost, character generation, honestly.
And that's in this, like I said earlier, the spirit of playing an old school game like BX or AD&D is like, look, this is how you play this game. DCC dials it up to 11 or 13 and says, look, the whole book is written around, look, I'm totally fucking serious, says Goodman. Try this. It's super fun. Everybody, you get into it. I swear to God, get into it, and you're all going to have fun if you're all on the same page. And you do that, and you will have a goddamn good time playing DCC.
Well, growing up, AD&D, I mean, if you would brag if you had a 7th level character, Like, that was an achievement. 8th level, 9th level. Like, you hit 10th level. Like, yeah, I'm 10th level, buddy, lady. I'm, I survived Pharaoh and Ravenloft and Oasis of the White Palm and all this stuff. And, yeah, I know my stuff. I got some stuff behind me.
That means either your dice were always super hot and you had a cheater D20, or your GM, DM, judge was not as neutral as they seemed, and they were rooting for the player characters a lot more. Just saying.
What's he talking about over there?
Sean,
what's he talking about over there?
Is he
insulting me as a player on my own podcast?
No, we're just saying that we've both seen you roll D20s, and you're terrible at it.
Oh, that's true. That's fair. That's very fair. Yes.
I've had Sean at the table physically roll a die, too. Dude, really?
I hate D20-based games because I suck at rolling that stupid die.
Yeah, so I think the fragility of it is one thing people hate. The other thing is there is a level of competence that people want to be able to do. They're like, I got this cool background idea. I want to be Phytord. I want to be like the badass barbarian from the north. Why do I have to wait 10 levels to be the badass barbarian from the north? Why can't she just be awesome right out of the gate? Well, that's a cool story. I want to tell that story. And I think some of what slows some folks down, the complaints I've heard about, is they want to cut to the chase. Where is the chase and how may I cut to it? Because fuck all that. I just want to tell this story because it's more. That's what they find more entertaining. They don't want to tell the tale of how they grew up and got there. They're already there and they want to go.
That's what's wrong with today's society, Brett. Everybody just wants to cut corners. They don't want to work hard and earn their keep and get to 10th level the hard way. They just don't want to do it. They just want to skip over. They want game masters that are like, hey, man, hey, lady, what can we start out at 5th level? Because I really don't want to start out at 1st and kill goblins all day. Oh, come on.
Wow, get off Sean's lawn. Come on, Chris. Let's back off Sean's lawn real fast.
Grumble.
He's got the shotgun. Let's go.
I'm just going to stand there. He can shoot me. It's fine. I've insulted him enough today anyway already, so it's cool. I get it.
So, Chris, when you've heard people bitch about low-level play, what are you hearing the same things we're hearing, or what do you hear?
Well, yes, they are saying all those same things, and the reason that they're saying that is because they're not getting something out of the game that they want. Their expectations are not being met, and that was the problem when people were just like, I want to play D&D. Or whatever, even BX or even DCC at 0 level funnel, but and they're like, but I want to play these higher level characters, but I have to play 20 sessions to get to where I actually want to play. Actually, you don't have to do that. Go find a different group, go play a different game. It's okay. I mean, the low level play is for a specific purpose. Playing through what Sean is talking about serves a specific purpose of achievement in a lot of ways, because that's part of the design of that stuff. Like going from 0 to 7th or 8th level and surviving, like he was talking about, there's something to be said for that. That is a cool design aesthetic, and it's a fun thing for players to do. But not everybody wants to do that, and that's okay. Just don't play that game then.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's one of those pieces you do realize. Go to drivethroughrpg.com. Use the affiliate link, of course, and search for something else because it's out there. This is the goal. I jokingly say it's the golden age of gaming, but I mean, if you want to play D&D style gaming, but only at highest levels, somebody has made a game that will let you do that right now.
So,
you want to be soft. You want that softness around you. You don't want those calluses not to come across your little die rolling hands.
I got soft little typist hands. I'm an IT guy, man.
Hey man, sometimes I just want to, pick up a gun and be all two-fisted gunning down Nazis. Sometimes I want to do that, and not have to worry about playing a first-level character to do that. And then sometimes I want to take my torchbearer and put the pack on my back and go from room to room, trying not to trip that trap to kill me.
I like it.
All right. Okay. All right.
Fine. That's fine.
That's fine.
I don't see why I have to pick one, Sean. I don't see why I have to pick one.
Wow.
See,
apparently you don't, Chris. You could just have the best of both worlds. You just do whatever the hell you want over there in Buffalo.
Sean,
oh my God, what was it? Were you interviewing my mother now? What just happened?
Sean, you know how you get the best of both worlds? You have a strong calendar game. Then you can schedule all your shit. That's all I'm saying. Everybody out there, you want to play more games and have a better time with your life, have a strong calendar game. And don't worry about playing 2-hour games. Also, just go play games with Jason Hobbs if you want to play awesome old school Renaissance games. He runs some awesome shit. Anyways, let's talk about making low-level games more fun.
So I think one of the things that we said earlier, and it does bear repeating, is get into the aesthetic. What is the if you're playing a game like an OSR game or a DCC, there is a feel, there is a dare I say a proper way to really get into it, and I think that it is worth your time to do that thing, really get into it. Even if you're playing a GURPS game or a Dresden Files game, like, look, I'm not Harry Dresden yet. Why aren't I Harry Dresden? I want to fucking be Harry Dresden. Well, it takes some time. That's okay, though. Get into it, and then you'll have the opportunity to do it. Get into the game, and I think that's the key piece. If you come in with a preconceived notion, kind of out of the gate, you're setting yourself up for failure, and I think that's just kind of a mindset thing that people should do.
Yes.
Sean, what are you thinking?
Yeah, sure, man.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Bunch of pansies. That's what
care.
you're saying. Bunch of weak sauce players.
Sean's just mad because I came and did his shtick for him.
Stole my damn thunder, he did.
I'm like, it depends, but I actually explained what it depends means.
Yeah, we don't like doing that.
Small details.
Small details. So, Chris, if you were, what are you thinking? That kind of help answer that.
Oh man, how do you enjoy it? I mean, buying into the concept is important. If you're a game master or a dungeon master that's running low level games, I think you can make it more enjoyable for yourself and for the players if you are more than willing to buy into them being creative and giving them the bonuses and whatnot for being creative, because they're still going to die. And that's just the way it goes. I love me some DCC and that dice chains for how you can be like, well, I'll let you move one up the dice chain. Doesn't matter because you're still going to roll a 3 and get murdered. But at least you got that die up the dice chain. That's pretty cool.
Oh, look, you rolled a D24. Still can't roll a candy shot.
No.
Candy shot. Look at that
hilarious.
shot.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I like how Chris explained that. Yeah, you can go up the dice chain like this little. It's this gleam of hope, knowing that they're not going to roll worth a shit regardless. Oh,
yeah,
D24 still sucks ass. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's to me that's one of the better ways to make low level play fun.
I think when you said it's game master, that trips the thing in my brain is the other piece is if you're going and the game has a progression built into it, allow the progression to occur. I have some people like to do it, by the book, how experience points are awarded by the rules. That's fine. Some people do it story based. Hey, you hit this narrative point or whatever it is. But if there is, if there's progression involved, keep the progression going. I'm not saying wuss out and give them levels real fast and just jack the power curve. But if you have a bunch of players who have told you, look, we're going to get into this, but yeah, it'll be cool to go up the 0 to hero chain. It'll be cool to find my way to become Harry Dresden. And if every time they turn around, they just haven't ever really improved, that will be a drain. So if the players are bought in, they're going to do this thing with you, it is incumbent on you to then help them move along the chain as they can go up. It doesn't have to be rocket fast, but they need to move.
The other thing I would do to make low-level play more fun and enjoyable is to not run weak-ass adventures. See Dungeon Crawl Classics. They write awesome stuff for low-level characters.
Yeah,
there are cool things to do. Do not have your stupid cave with your 3 kobolds in a room and have them fight them. Get a little bit more clever. Put it in a weird location. Have weird stuff going on. Heck, even the second-level adventure. There's a second-level adventure that the guys are playing right now, Phil and the boys. For DCC, it's the emerald, the layer of the emerald mage or something like that. It's the
Emerald Enchanter. Yeah,
the Emerald Enchanter. Holy Lord! It sounds like this weird time travel craziness that's going on inside of this dungeon, and that's the kind of stuff that makes it doesn't matter if you're playing low level or high level. It's just cool then, right?
Yeah, it's that whole concept of Sean. I've talked about this before. It's not just giant. It's not just a rust monster. It's a rust monster that eats flesh, right? It's something different. And all the crazy cool shit can still happen, and you just take the scale down a touch. And you need to have fun things. If you're playing weak-ass adventures where they go in, it's a 10x10 room, there's an orc guarding a pie, that's fun and all, but after a while, you need, that gets really boring. 2 of those, for nostalgia's sake, cute, but, 5 dungeons worth of those, not so cute. So I totally get what you're saying. Make sure that there's plenty, and there's a shit ton of good examples out there. Even if you don't want to go as gonzo as DCC, you've got like Borrow Maze and some of the other cool stuff that are out there for the OSR. And I'm positive there's other cool adventures for other games out there too.
I mean, Operation Unfathomable. Man, there's. I mean, if you want to get really, really brutal, I mean, this is a little bit higher than first level. Maybe the first level stuff is there. No, I think App and Rathuk is still pretty high level, even to start with. I mean, there's a whole thing right at the very beginning that will just murder everybody. It's pretty great, actually. It's like one of the things that a lot of people don't like realize about me that listen to Misdirected Mark all the time. Like, I actually like all the big mega dungeon type things. Like, they're pretty hilarious watching people, seeing all the crazy murder everybody stuff that goes into them. It's a lot of fun, really, to read that stuff.
Instant super tetanus. That's all I got to say. Instant super tetanus.
Super tetanus. I'm more interested in the like, oh, look, it's the first room. We're getting attacked by gargoyles and the ceiling's about to crush us. Oh, and I just found the mechanism, but it just got covered up by the ceiling, so there's no way for us to survive.
Yeah. And don't mind the Zorn that's chewing in your knees. God damn it!
Those are such fun games to run.
So, Sean, what would you, if you want to have fun as a player or a game master with low-level play, do you have any tips or tricks? Or are you just too angry? Are you just too angry? I don't know if I have it.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any necessarily ones that I'd whip out of my pocket, but I do think that if you have to help the players be more creative. Going back to Chris and what you were saying, you know, hey, you guys got a bag of flour? What do I need a bag of flour for? Hey, you got a 10-foot pole? What am I going to need a 10-foot pole for? I mean, some people have played and come from those adventures, and some haven't. Like, there's a good generation now that's playing consistent D&D that they haven't witnessed some of that stuff. Marbles. Like, what do I need marbles for?
Super useful.
Find out which way the slope of the ground's going and which way you're going in underneath the dungeon. So I think it's just facilitating some of those, fostering a lot more creativity in the approach and not out to get them necessarily, even though some of those, like what Chris mentioned, you're like in a freaking passageway in the
room's falling, there's gargoyles eating you.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, that wouldn't have happened until they failed the die roll.
Yeah.
Then they'd be dead.
And they only would have failed if they hadn't done something creative to get enough boons to actually help them.
Well, they still might have failed even then. That's the whole point of those games.
You still roll a one.
True.
Yeah.
True.
But I get your point, though, Sean. I mean, it's one of those things where they're like, well, I want to search the room. What die do I roll? And you can say, well, let's talk about that, because I can give you a bonus. You're going to roll a wisdom or less. But what are you trying to do? If you give me a good description, I might be able to give you a bonus on that. Oh, I get a bonus. But metagamey, but you're helping coach them along as they go if they've not done this type of thing before. And even in, I remember playing Dresden Files with Tom. There's a couple times I talked to him, I'm like, all right, I want to do a thing. I have no idea how to do this because I know I don't have this much power. Tom's like, no, actually, you're pretty good. And Chris like, no, you can do this, this, and this. Just tie these two things together and off you go. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But, I've been gaming for a long time, but there's still plenty of different ways to, as you learn new systems and stuff, ask the group, like, I want to make this really cool. How do I do that thing as a player? And as Game Master, help coach them along and drag them into that space and say, hey, guys, look, this is a thing you could do that would give you a bonus. If nothing else, a carrot and stick.
It brings up another point about how to make low-level play more fun and enjoyable. As a player, if you understand the rules set, then you can play the game more effectively. And that will help you at lower levels. Like, it'll help you at all levels, but it really does make lower-level play a lot more fun, too. When you can actually use the rules to play the game efficiently, effectively. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. Like, there is some level of skill to this stuff.
You watch some people playing. You played a lot of 4th edition D&D, and I play Pathfinder. And you watch guys who play very tactical games, men and women who do that with the grid. They got the minis, and if they know that system, it doesn't fucking matter if you're playing first level, 0 level. They're like, okay, I know how this works. 2 hops, one of these, distance weapon, reach, boom, 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 flanking, whack, whack, whack. And the ogre's dead. Like, holy shit, how'd you do that? I know the rules. Mm-hmm. That's a very tactical example, but if you understand how magic works in the game or how you do X, Y, and Z, then yeah, that's a very good point. If you figure that out, that really helps. That rule mastery of a certain level will definitely help the play.
Oh man, and that kind of stuff, it feeds both ways too. So if the players and the game master, dungeon master, are all kind of on the same level of rules mastery and rules understanding, then those games flow a lot better too. And it doesn't even have to be about because you're never really arguing about rules then, because everybody understands, like, well, the game master gets to make the rulings, right? And then the players get to try to do cool things, and the game master will just be the judge. That's why I keep keep away from that adversarial style of play, especially at low levels, in my opinion. Like that, I mean, being more of a judge, if you want that kind of like roguelike death at any turn kind of play in a game, then being a judge and a pretty as neutral as you can be judge generally works a lot better because it facilitates that style better. And then of course the rules mastery lets things flow better.
Fair enough. Sean, you got any last pointers?
No, but you can also, going through establishing some of those things that Brett mentioned and getting boons, you can establish those in house rules, which we haven't gotten into at all, but, tweaks and social contract by saying, hey, this is the game we want to play, this is the game we want to facilitate. If you come up with creative ways to overcome things, your chances of overcoming them probably are going to be better because I'm going to give you a little bonus here or there. So just so everybody's aware of that.
Yeah, clarity up front so people get it. They grok it. They can roll with it then.
Yeah, setting expectations helps a lot.
Totally.
Yeah.
Shall we move on, man? I thought that was pretty good. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Sorry that I bagged on you, Sean, but it's fun to do.
Hey, that's what I'm here for. All right.
Oh, let's die roll it up.
Die roll. 2 to 4 miscellaneous things we want to talk about and bring to your attention. Womp womp. Brett has 0.
Yeah, I was too busy gaming this weekend, Sean. I didn't have time to find die rolls.
Well, hey, then you get a pass. Congratulations.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Good job.
I get a no prize.
That's
Sean?
the only way you get out of this is if you're gaming, Brett. So keep that in mind for the next 200.
Oh, shit. Okay, got it.
Yeah. All right. I'll start. Dave Hanlon was interested to know what Brett thought of Invisible Sun. So he wrote in, and then he said something about, because I do a podcast. And I said, well, that's great, Dave. What's your podcast? Because he didn't pimp it out when he wrote us. So if you are interested in Invisible Sun by Monty Cook Games, and you want to know a little bit more details about that, Dave and his crew over there, Incantations podcast. Like they've got like 40 episodes, I think.
49.
49, yeah. So check that. That's as of this dropping date. So, if you hear this a year from now, you might even have more. So check that out. And my second one, 2018 nominees for Board Game of the Year. So I saw this article on Ars Technica. We don't do a ton of board games here, but if you are a board gamer and listen to us, you want to check those out and see if your opinions align with those that are up for those nominations. Or if you're interested in checking out some games that got some pretty good PR, there you go. And then lastly, for me, for the week, Alternative Art for 5e Core Books was tweeted and teased by Jason TD&DDM on Twitter. Brett, have you seen these?
Yes, I have. They're going to release the 5e core books with the GM screen and slipcase. There'll be a standard one.
A slipcase, yep.
And then a really kick-ass looking slipcase. And the kick-ass looking slipcase looks really kick-ass.
So are you gonna splurge?
I want them, yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Chris, have you seen those?
I'm looking at them right now. They're gorgeous. I love the Monster Manual and the Dungeon Master's Guide. I mean, they got that black matte background with like one's got a lich, one's got a fire giant with a skull helmet on it, and one's got a beholder on it, and they're just gorgeous. You should take a look at them.
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen these the special editions that they've done of other ones, it's very much in that vein, I think.
Yeah, Mordenkainen and Xanathar's the matte special edition matte black or the matte type.
Yeah, and the standard player's handbook has a fire giant on it. The standard DM's guide has a Serac on it, and so on. So it makes sense.
That's what Chris just said.
I know. I'm just saying it's really cool. They took the key pieces off of those and translated it over in this slick art. So I like this. This is neat.
You were talking about the thing you were talking about before, the 2018 nominees for Board Game of the Year, the Spiel des Jahres. There's a game on there called Azul. That game is amazing. If anybody gets a chance to play it, go play it. It's this tile mosaic building game, and it's just really clever engine building, sort of like market management kind of game. And I got to play it with Mo Tousineau, the Canadian God of Gaming, at Origins, and it's wonderful. So get your hands on it if you can.
Nice.
Look at that little endorsement. All right.
So, Chris, you guys are doing something. What's going on? There's something. Encoded's got something cooking. What do you got?
Mind if I talk about that last?
Sure, go for it, man. Cool. Get the other stuff.
A couple of Kickstarters I just want to throw out there. Over the Edge, I playtested this game with some folks. It's an amazing game. It's Kickstarting right now. It's a new version of Over the Edge. I really like the rules. There's I don't know if this rule stuck with the game because I haven't seen the new version of it yet. But the thing is like you just tell the characters the players what's going on during play at times. Like you just give information away for free, and you can frame it in interesting ways. So like when we were playing it, like it was like I would let the players know, not the characters, like players know information by like framing shots from like a weird person like looking at them through like a screen like you would see in a TV show, and like saying something obscure that would give the players a clue but not their characters, and they would have to figure out a way to utilize that later and figure it out for their characters. But there's like a mechanism in the game for that. So it's a really clever implementation of Over the Edge.
Now, this is by Jonathan Tweet. For those of you that don't know who Jonathan Tweet is, he was actually on the 3.0 Player's Handbook. Monty was on the DM Guide. He was on the Player's Handbook, I believe.
Yeah, and he did the original Over the Edge. He's done a lot of different stuff over the years.
The reality is that Tweet and Cook and whoever else was on that team, which is slipping my mind, they actually wrote all three of those books together. Like they all did all that work together. That's just that they all happen to have their names on different ones.
And then Cam Banks is also involved with this, I believe, right?
Yeah, because it's an Atlas Games product, and Cam Banks works for Atlas.
That's right.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention, Zombie World, a card-based tabletop RPG of zombie horror. The only reason I mention it is because it's a Mark Diaz-Truman game, and Mark Diaz-Truman's an excellent designer, so this will not be the zombie game that you think it is. It uses cards to help set up things. It's got part of the game is about trust, because you can't always trust everybody that's in your space with you, that's sharing your like little homestead or whatever it's called. And you keep your cards that are like your secrets and whatnot face down in front of you, so you know what they are, but everybody else doesn't. And eventually you can turn them over or share them if you want to, and they have like a mechanical effect when you do that. So there's a lot of stuff like that going on.
Nice.
So that's pretty slick mechanism in a game that I haven't really seen too much of before. I also run a convention called the Queen City Conquest. Brett will be there. It's from September 7th to the 9th. We talked about a little bit earlier. I'm hoping Brett will put some games on the schedule at some point in the near future.
Yes, I got to do that. I am so sorry. I'm pulling a Sean Kelly. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. Ah, fuck, I got to do that.
If you want to come and game with me, if you're a fan of Misdirected Mark Productions or, Gaming in BS, and you want to come hang out with me and Brett, we'll be there. I'm running a Monster of the Week game that is 9 hours long. It's basically 2 slots. We're going to take a little break in the middle, but it's like my version of a long con. It'll tell a whole complete story. There's 1 spot left in that game as of right now, so if you want to play that game with me and some really cool folks from Misdirected Mark that I've seen are already signed up for it, you should do that. And then the last thing I want to talk about for a hot second. I am a member of Encoded Designs. It's a publishing company, and we are kickstarting our first game. It's called Iron Edda. It is a Norse epic action game where you are defending your homestead, your holdfast, from threats from within and without. The idea is Ragnarok has occurred, and Ragnarok is the dwarves, these dwarves from below, coming to the surface in these giant metal mech machine things and just destroying everything. And your best weapon to fend that off is that you were given the magic, some of you were given the magic, to take your souls and bond them with dead giants, and then you can summon their bones to become the flaming heart of these dead giants to fight back and defend your holdfast. There are also other things that you can be, like Rune Scribed, where you have runes of power that you can use to fight. Scalds, where you are basically the badass bard, Brett Bardigan, which you can see that around. Also, there's even it uses the mantle system, which they're called Destinies from Dresden Files Accelerated. It's a fake game, and it's got a lot of cool stuff in it. Like the Destinies are all these cool classes. They're very powerful right up front. There's even one called the Farmer, and you'd be surprised. Like the Farmer's pretty badass, the way that they can leverage their land to do things and get what they need.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when I read that, because I'm the developer on the game. So I developed all the rules, made this game flow a little bit better. Those things were like, I'm like, this is hot stuff, and I've heard this stuff and seen it in playtesting too. I'm like, it's really impressive how powerful some of these early abilities are. Everybody's got some stuff that can do some pretty game-changing things. One of the other mechanisms in the game is the holdfast mechanics, where you roll some fate dice to randomize questions that then you answer that help build out the problems that are assaulting your holdfast. And as you do that, you actually take a piece of paper and draw out your little map. So every time you answer one of these questions that becomes a problem or an issue that's with your holdfast, you draw it actually in and around your holdfast. You have like this physical representation of what's going on. And I really like those mechanisms a lot. And there's 108 different questions, so there's a lot of different randomization that can happen with that. And of course, if you don't want to randomize it, you can just pick the questions that you want. And they range from political intrigue type things, because, you know, one of the things is you can be the Jarl or a leader of your holdfast and like deal with the internal politics. And then of course there's the outside stuff like, oh look, there's a Dwarven Destroyer, which is basically a giant 50-foot metal mech marching its way towards your holdfast. What do you do? So that's Ironetta. It's Fate. It's going to be on Kickstarter starting the day that this podcast drops, so you can go back it as soon as you hear this. And,
sweet.
It's our first Kickstarter, but we're being real smart about it. We don't have a huge goal. I think we only need to reach 3,000 to fund, and
you guys did Part-Time Gods of Fate as a Kickstarter too.
That was through Aloy and Third Eye Games. This is actually
That's right. This is just you guys.
This is Encoded Designs' first actual Kickstarter project. And we're fulfilling through drive-thru, so like we're not super good at that part yet, so we're just going to have drive-thru print all the books and fulfill them to you.
Nice.
Chris, how long do you guys plan on running that Kickstarter for?
It'll be for 30 days.
So,
very cool.
Yeah, so just so everybody knows, when this drops on the 25th, that's when the Kickstarter will kick off and then go until August 25th. Right.
Nice.
Thank you for giving me some time to talk about that. I greatly appreciate it.
No problem, man.
Did you guys have any questions about it?
So my question is, am I next after that one?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, everybody...
Selfishly.
So here's the thing. Like, we're going to publish The Streets of Avalon. That is Brett's... I would call it his do-it-yourselfish setting for his city of Avalon, which I love quite a bit. It is already on the schedule. I can tell Brett for sure. Now we are kickstarting this in December.
Nice. Okay.
So if you want to all get Brett a Christmas present, which we'll talk about it later, and maybe I'll come back on the show and we'll have Brett on Misdirected Mark to talk about Avalon and stuff. You can get Brett a Christmas present by kickstarting his product, his book. Make him feel really good about himself.
I need that after this year, the Kelly crap.
That's true. That's true. Brett needs a pick-me-up, and Miles will be his Kickstarter.
Exactly. Something's got to kick me.
Thing I want so bad on the cover is a lamplighter.
Yes. Yeah, we need one.
That's going to be right on the cover, a lamplighter. Lighting a lamp.
Very cool.
I feel like that is the most Avalon thing ever, and if you don't know what a lamplighter is, email Brett and ask him.
Hey, yeah, I'll tell you.
Or, just go listen to the Streets of Avalon podcast.
Oh, you'll learn there, too.
Well, excellent.
Cool.
Yeah, very good stuff. Chris, where can people find more of you, more of Encoded, more of Misdirected Mark? I know there's all kinds of channels.
Yeah, the best place is on Twitter, at Misdirected Mark. That is the network Twitter. It's also the show, Misdirected Mark Podcast Twitter. But all of our shows pop up on there. A lot of our announcements pop up on there. Anything from Encoded generally gets retweeted by Misdirected Mark on Twitter. If you don't like Twitter, we have a G+ community. If you don't like G+, we have a Facebook page. If you don't like that and you just want to go to Twitch, we're live every Tuesday at 8:45 Eastern at Chris MMP. So it's twitch.tv/Chris MMP. So there you go. Those are the best places to get us on the internet. Also, you can just go to the website, misdirectedmark.com.
I was going to say, you've got that, podcatchers out there for all that good craziness, too. So all good.
Mm-hmm. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I had a really great time. I miss you guys. Like, I get to hang out with Brett all the time, but I haven't seen you, Sean, in like forever. So,
well, I'm glad you could stop by, man, and make time to come on the show for sure.
Absolutely. I hope you'll have me back sometime.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what are you doing next week and the week after? I'm going to kick this other guy to the curb.
Well, next week I can't be on because I have a game that evening. I'm running Monster of the Week. But the week after that, I'd be happy to come back.
We're already running into schedule conflicts with Mr. Sniezak. Man, this guy.
Every other week. If you want to make me a regular thing, then I'll come every other week. No problem.
Yeah, you need another podcast, like another hole in your head.
Well, this one I don't have to do anything with except show up and talk.
That's right.
Well, that's
a little
true.
bit easier.
That's fair. That's true.
We haven't been doing that for 200 episodes. That's a sweet gig. It's a sweet gig.
Jesus. Well, all right. Well, thanks so much, Chris, again, for being on the show. Always a pleasure. Say hi to all the folks back at Encoded and Misdirected Mark.
I will, absolutely.
Right. And I will wrap this up and say thanks for tuning in. This has been an episode of Gaming BS. I'm Sean.
And I'm Brett. Good night and good game and all.
This has been a Litterbox Studio production.